Thank you, Uwe, for your very, very kind introduction. I hope that you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, we can hear you. We can see the presentation.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, of course, Robert and the CEP for the invitation to this conference today. So, supplier's perspective, what is our view? What is the Faurecia view? First of all, hydrogen is a key element of the energy transformation that is ongoing, and hydrogen is a reality today. So it's we're not longer discussing if it comes, but how it comes and how it will happen. And the Faurecia is really committed, and it's a key conviction to drive this transition. And this is why I'm happy to share today our perspective and convictions on hydrogen. So before going into the hydrogen context, please allow me to briefly introduce Faurecia in the beginning. Faurecia is a top 10 global automotive supplier, and actually we are only 21 years young. So it's a young company. We are active in all global automotive markets with more than 300 locations and with roughly 115,000 employees. And we have French roots, but a very global mindset and a very global culture, and change and transformation are core DNA elements of Faurecia. This will allow us to develop further. This will allow us to drive hydrogen further, and this will also allow us to integrate HELLA in 2022 to broaden our portfolio, especially on the electronics side. So Faurecia, with 4 business groups, is we are focusing on 2 strategic pillars. The first one is sustainability. That's what I will be talking about today. And the second one is the cockpit of the future, the user experience in the interior of the vehicle. But today, let's focus on the sustainable mobility and on hydrogen. This focus, as I said, is deeply rooted in our company convictions. And this is also really driving the sustainability approach that Faurecia is taking as a company, also in operations, and the way how we want to do business. So why hydrogen, and why hydrogen at Faurecia? I need to put up front, and that is maybe connected to the French roots that we have, that we follow a very pragmatic approach here. A very pragmatic approach to the future energy mix. And then we look at the use cases, we look at the use case demands. On the one side, we look at the technology and the technology today and in the future. On the other hand, we bring it together and we see that hydrogen is having unmatched performance in many use cases, in many selected use cases. And this means also that we have to accept that it's not the perfect solution in other use cases. So we are not really stubborn or not dogmatic on this. We are really following what the user needs. And if we look at the hydrogen key USPs and the key asset that hydrogen brings, the key selling point that it brings, in the end, it will allow for diesel-like experience in those depicted segments, namely short refueling time. Of course, there are segments where this is not an issue, where you have the time to charge a longer time, but there are segments where you need it. The vehicle range, and I'm very glad what Moritz also was depicting on the range expectations in heavy-duty trucking. And of course, and this is a key lever in many of the segments, it's TCO. I mean, TCO, the economic performance, among others, materializing in no compromises in payload and pay volume, especially payload. And this is also where we see the trend towards a very selective use case approach. So based on this approach, we at Faurecia see the key hydrogen application, and this is, I think, matching with the presentations of my colleagues up front, in heavy-duty trucking, of course, especially long-range applications in medium-duty trucks and buses, and in certain light vehicle segments. SUV, we saw the BMW iX5 earlier. That's exactly the way we are thinking to that as well. And based on those use cases, based on those applications we prioritize, we see, or we estimate in our internal models, 2.5 million hydrogen vehicles being produced globally in 2030. And out of those 2.5 million vehicles produced, we see roughly 500,000 heavy-duty trucks. So this is the use cases and the use case overview we see. So let me go deeper in the data behind this market model. And I picked TCO. As I said, it's a key decision driver in the technology selection. So let me go a bit deeper in how we see the situation. Light vehicles, for example, here on the slide, the TCO results for the premium SUV segment. We see parity in the TCO performance with plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. We know there is a lot of discussions ongoing whether or not plug-in hybrid electric vehicles will maintain, also based on legislation. But making the comparison, we see the parity in 2030. And we also see a remaining gap, a remaining TCO cost gap on a monthly basis towards battery electric vehicles. But this premium, this price premium, will then be offset by the user experience, namely the range and the refueling time. If we go further into the light commercial vehicle segment, the picture converges to parity with battery electric vehicles. Of course, again, depending on use patterns, on fleet sizes, on different aspects. But, and this is also important to highlight, by far outperforming diesel in the most relevant use cases. So it's not about a combination or let's say a comparison towards diesel. It's really which of the zero emission application makes sense in the different use cases. And then we have the heavy duty truck, and then looking to heavy duty truck and long haul applications. Hydrogen is unmatched if we don't want to compare with diesel. We see in our models outperformance of battery electric vehicle solutions in long haul application by more than 15%. So this is the why, and this is why we see this hydrogen. It is there. It is not it could be coming, but it will be coming. So let's come to the how. The why is understood. Let's come to the how Faurecia is approaching this now. So Faurecia embarked the hydrogen journey 2017, actually even before, with internal activities. And at that time, we started two tracks. The first track was the hydrogen storage system as a key component of the hydrogen drivetrain. And at the same time, we started with the hydrogen fuel cell, the second key element, which we later brought into a joint venture with Michelin. So we used the strong competencies to go into this, but then also connecting to what the pre-presentation showed, leveraging and building a strong ecosystem of partners. As this is and this is maybe also a difference for us as Faurecia and the company. It's not an automotive car-based or vehicle-based activity. It's really an ecosystem play. This is what we are addressing. Since 2017, things went fast. First products ready by 2018, and also having the first customer awards in 2018. And those programs now go into serious production. We fueled this development then also by investing in our infrastructure, state-of-the-art R&D centers. And then since 2019 already, which is quite a sprint, or which was quite a sprint, then really going into the second phase. And second phase meaning focusing on market introduction, focusing on industrialization, and focusing on production ramp-up. And this on a global level in all main regions. And this includes also the delivery, as an example, of 1,600 trucks in the truck fleet test in Switzerland that was mentioned earlier already. Since 2020, we now even more and even stronger focus on portfolio extension with our recent step into cryogenic storage, and I will come back to that on a later part of the presentation. So this is the journey, and I just want to highlight again, this is an ecosystem play. It's not something that one company can drive alone. We have a lot of interface, a lot of interferences, which means that we are using our DNA, using our very pragmatic and open DNA, really to partner, to drive partnerships and to drive ecosystem play. So a very, very intensive journey we went through with high investments and then high effort spent, of course. And this was really because we truly believe and we were truly convicted about this technology. This today, and today meaning 2021, allows us to cover 75% of the drivetrain, both on the storage part, with the tank and all the tanks surrounding, let's say. And on the other end, the fuel cell stack system, which I mentioned, we brought into a joint venture called Symbio, and really by this offering a full drivetrain solution. on a global scale, of course. So let's go deeper into the storage domain, which is the key activity we are driving. The portfolio here that we are covering today addresses the magnitude of applications that we can serve with the concept of product families, and this circles back to the pickup of the market. Price reduction and cost reduction learning curves for us is a key driver, a key enabler for making hydrogen society possible. And we see with the current cost levels, of course, we need to converge towards this TCO curves I was showing earlier. So having standardized products wherever possible, having product families is a key lever that we are trying to drive. We see significant cost reduction needs, but also significant cost reduction potentials in, for example, carbon fiber applications, where we are aiming at bringing down the cost to a level of 25% of today. Without this cost steps and without these learning curves, of course, the market pickup will be way more critical or way more difficult than we were estimating earlier. With this product family, we serve both 350 and 700 bar application as a standard in automotive, and we go beyond that with also different pressure levels outside of automotive, where we are between 250 and 500 bars. We are driving at the moment Type 4 and Type 3 vessels, but also see their developments towards, for example, Type 5 tank types. So this is a portfolio, but this portfolio overview does not go with a short side view, because we want to talk about challenges, also a short side view on the framework of this technology development. We do see from our side a relatively stable onboard regulation and an onboard homologation framework. We have a clear frame for developing safe and reliable systems today. And we drive optimization also in the CEP and beyond on the onboard and offboard interface, so the refueling interface. So this is where we are today, but looking a bit into the future, of course, a key lever is reduction of safety factors. So at the moment, with safety factors on a higher level, reducing those safety factors without compromising safety will allow us to be more competitive with the product. Of course, this will provide cost and packaging advantages, but of course also this needs to go hand in hand with learning effects from the field. We cannot just drive down safety factors without understanding what it means. So we are already monitoring the tank usage in the field. We now have field data, even more field data month by month. We are using that to really demonstrate the safety level and the safety margins we are applying to go down to a more competitive product. Beyond that, beyond the, let's say, optimization within the current regulation or regulatory framework, we are waiting, or we are, of course, will be playing with a new phase 2 of the GTR 13 that will enable more and new storage concept beyond the classical tanks that we see at the moment. It will enable system simplification, for example, less auxiliaries, and it will, by this, of course, drive cost reduction. And it also will drive novel concepts, meaning other form factors, conformable tanks, for example, that we are developing in anticipation of this. But of course, also those concepts need to go through extensive validation to demonstrate that despite the simplification, they will still be safe on the safety level that we have today. So for sure, those future topics will enable better integration of the tanks from the form factor into underbody, for example. And this is why we are driving those alternative concepts as well, which are not shown on this slide yet. So what's beyond? Beyond compressed hydrogen storage, beyond, we see cryogenic storage solutions, also named by Daimler earlier, because if we want to decarbonize road transport, the long-haul heavy-duty trucking is a key segment. It accounts for more than 90% of the transport volume. And this segment has very demanding needs, especially regarding TCO performance, so including range and payload and pay volume and user convenience and refueling times. There, the compressed solutions come to a limit, considering the needs that I just named. And This is why we are driving also cryogenic solutions, cryogenic hydrogen solutions, with a clear goal, cost-efficient and safe systems, and with a clear goal to have those solutions ready in accordance to market timing, with the markets lifting up or starting in 27 at scale. So not single system, but at scale and on international scale. So this is the ambition behind, and this requires from our side 3 things. The first one is a strong technical expertise in storage and cryogenic technology. The second one is a strong process and industrialization know-how to bring the scales. And the third one is the full coverage of the full value chain, including the transport, the refueling interface, and so on. And this is why we are happy, and this is why we decided to also do this topic not alone, but in a strong development partnership with Air Liquide, sharing a joint objective and a joint collaboration spirit. And the industry feedback until now shows us and gives feedback that we are really hitting a nail. So let me come to the end of the presentation, and let me circle back to my entry statement. So I said hydrogen is a reality. This is what our customer traction shows. We have activities in all automotive segments and beyond automotive. We serve this demand with an automotive production footprint on a global scale, building new factories, scaling capacity to 60,000 systems per year in due time, and drive it in a sustainable way. Just a side comment: the full new Alain plant that we are building is a 100% CO2 neutral plant from day one on. That is important as well, because if we do clean systems in a dirty environment, this will not work. So this is what we are driving as well. And now let me then come to the summary. Circling back to this thing, we are convinced and we have a conviction on hydrogen. Why? Because we see that the hydrogen mobility is here to stay. 2.5 million vehicles being produced in 2030. We follow a very pragmatic and technology agnostic approach for the different segments, with the core segments being in commercial vehicles, but also in some passenger car vehicles. We bring our DNA, we bring our competencies, and by this we see the market picking up traction now. And again, I'm happy that we don't discuss the if, but the how. Thank you for your kind attention, and looking forward to questions.